everybody, this is GM-elect Jesse Kraai, and I'd like to welcome you to the second stage of the chess lecture training program, and this is going to be designed for players to go from a 600 rating to an 800 rating. Now, what I've done here is I've just set up a very basic position, and it's black to move, and so while I'm talking, try to find what black's best move is. Now, the biggest mistake I see at this level of play is that people move much too quickly. They're usually very nervous and haven't learned to relax into a position. What I mean by relaxing into a position is the ability to just slow down and try to figure out what's going on. Try to figure out some of the ideas behind the position. Players at this level will often become obsessed with one move, such that they can't even think of other moves, and that's why they play the move quickly. Okay, now let's take a look at this problem. Here black can play e4, and that's just a simple double attack on the bishop and the knight. The pawn is protected twice, so even if white tries to take the thing, he's going to end up being down a piece. Now, this is called a tactic. And tactics are generally based on patterns, okay, like this pattern here where you see a pawn fork. And these patterns really are the heart of the game. That's why if you want to improve, you must get in the habit of solving problems. Now, here's a standard problem, the kind of which I'd like you to really do a lot of. It's mate in 1 in this position with white to move. Now, I've recommended Laszlo Polgar's book of mating combinations, and it's a fantastic book, and I imagine it's what his daughters, who are now world-class players, used in their early formative years. Now, beyond patterns, it will also teach you board vision. And what I mean by board vision can be seen in this example. The bishop on b3 here strikes a diagonal all the way to the king to g8. And the thing to see here is that it's pinning that pawn on f7. So in this position, we can play queen takes g6, checkmate. Okay? Board vision. That's what these problems will teach you. Now, at some point in your problem solving, you're going to become frustrated and say, why do I even need to find a mate in a position like this? I already know how to checkmate the queen. In this case, I could even make another queen. Okay? You might even call me some nasty names. What you need to bear in mind here is that a pattern like this one, where we play queen e5, is not going to teach you how to mate the opponent when you have a queen. You already know how to do that. What it's going to teach you to do is to find patterns like this, where we have a pawn controlling d3 and f3, and the king controlling d2 and f2. Things like this are going to teach you the fundamentals of the game. It's like doing a karate move again and again. You can call me Mr. Miyagi. Finally, do not study openings, okay? Specific openings. What is far more important to do is for you to learn the principles of opening play. And I did a special lecture on that, and that's in our guide. And just to reiterate, develop your pieces and control the center. Don't move a developed piece twice. Castle early and often. Now, I talk about these rules in my lecture, but as an exercise, just to show you how unimportant it is to know specific openings, try to find all the moves here for black which satisfy those requirements of fighting for the center and helping your pieces come out. Hit the pause button if you like. What we'll find here is that all of the logical moves that you can play in this position are things you'll later discover have names. Like you could play c6 with the idea of playing d5. That has a name. You could play d5, fighting for the center, bringing the bishop out. That has a name. You could play d6, bringing the bishop out, fighting for the center. That has a name. You could play e5, fighting for the center, helping your pieces get out. That has a name. e6 likewise has a name. Even a move like knight f6 or knight c6, those have names. You can even play c5, fighting for the center, bringing your queen out. So the point is is to learn how to play principled good opening moves way before you go on to learn the specifics of a given opening. Because what those specifics will do is it'll take you away from the fundamentals of opening play, and that's what you need to master first. Now, you'll find in the competency section that you need to master the king and rook. Okay, the king and rook checkmate. And when you do that, I suggest you practice it with a friend 3 times, and make sure you can do it 3 times in, say, under 25 moves without fail. And while you're doing that, try to think about the concept of sukswang that I talk about in my lecture on the subject. That'll help you understand. That's a very valuable concept, and that'll help you in your later chess development. So, this is GM-elect Jesse Kraai, and I hope to see you soon in my next installment, which will cover the rating group 800. Hello everybody, this is GM-elect Jesse Kraai, and today I'm going to do part 3 of the Chess Lecture Training Guide, and this is going to be aimed at helping players move from a rating of around 800 to 1000. Now, what I've done here is I've set up a problem. And before I talk about anything else, I want you just to concentrate on this problem whilst I'm talking. And this is the kind of thing that you're going to need to learn how to do to really break out of the area codes. It's white to move and win. Breaking out of the area codes, I just mean breaking out over 1000. White to move and win, and try to solve it as I talk about what you need to do to get over 1000. So let's begin by talking about the primary objective for breaking out of the area codes that I've written down at the site. And I wrote, perfect your dogmatic existence as a strict materialist. Now, this might sound a little silly, especially since you've probably already discovered that there might be more to the game than just the brute force of material. Now, like in the position before us, material is equal, but black's minor pieces seem more active than their white counterparts. And white's pawn on d4 is isolated, and therefore doesn't have any friends. Back him up, he seems weak. Nevertheless, it's white to play and win here. And what that really suggests to me is that a lot of times, usually, tactics, as in this kind of position, are more important than strategical considerations. And winning material is going to be your key way to get out of the area codes. Now, but what I'd like you to do is to imagine someone who is learning to swim. Now, swimming is a complicated thing because a lot of motions are happening at the same time, like in chess. Now, our swimmer will have to master some basic movements before she can start putting everything together. If she is going to do the crawl stroke, her arm and her arm stroke will be the first thing she needs to master, because this is where her power will come from. Now, it won't be enough for us to show her how it's done. Simply yelling at her, "Hey, silly, look at me, just do it like I'm doing," won't really help. She'll not only have to practice it, but she'll probably have to swallow some water and hack a bit before her arms are strong enough to carry her. And so, what does all this have to do with chess? Well, many beginners, in fact most beginners, try to do all kinds of fancy things, complex openings, sacrifices, daring attacks, before they have mastered the most fundamental part of the game, and that is controlling the material relations on the board, gaining more material than your opponent. It's as if they were trying to do flip turns, a fancy rhythmic kick, and advanced breathing techniques before their arms were strong enough to do the basic stroke. Now, one beauty of chess is that your rating gives you a good indication of where you stand. And if you are under 1000, you are still dropping pieces. Okay? If you are under 1000, you still have not mastered this basic art of controlling the material relations on the board. Now, let's talk about the homework that I've listed on the site. If you want to improve, you must do problems. And the Mates in 1 will provide you with all the basic mating patterns and will help you see the whole board. Note that I'm not asking you to calculate long variations at this point. The fundamental we are practicing at now is trying to see the board as it is. What attacks what. Notice that when you do the problems a second time, you'll be able to do them much more quickly. This means that your mind is now building up a store of patterns. Now, the other key competency you must master is king and pawn versus rook. It is the most important endgame skill. Practice it with a friend and make sure you can do it 3 times in a row before you pat yourself on the back. And this is what I recommend for all these things I've listed as competencies at the site. Do it 3 times. Make sure you can do it ice cold, so you'll have no trouble doing it in a real game. The king and pawn versus king is the most central because it's the end game to which a lot of things will reduce to. Mastering that king and pawn will be great because then you can move on and do other more complicated things from that, using that as a basis. Now let's talk about this problem. It seems a little bit unfair that white should win this position. His pieces are so inactive, he has the isolated pawn. But black needed to have been a little bit more careful. And in this game, this is actually between 2 world champions, Lasker against Juve in Nottingham, 1936. We see that even masters can make mistakes. And in this position, white played b4, attacking the bishop. Now if the bishop just moves, we win the knight on c4. And if the bishop takes, suddenly we have knight c2. And black is suffering from a double attack that he can't get out of. The king is attacking the knight, and the knight is attacking the bishop. And black can't defend against both threats. So, this is GM-elect Jesse Kraai, and I hope to see you at the next stage, which will be 1000 to 1200. Bye-bye.
This is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for OnlineChessLessons.net. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from OnlineChessLessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.